There are concerns in Canada about the possibility of a dangerous runway collision. The Transportation Safety Board, that's the independent agency that investigates incidents in Canada, has put so-called runway incursions on a watch list. The chair of the TSB, Yoan Marier, joins us now from Gatineau, Quebec. Yoan, thank you very much for speaking with us. And let's start with the numbers. 7 so-called reportable incidents in 2023, 3 the next year, 9 in 2025. How concerned should Canadian travelers be?
Well, the board is concerned about runway incursions, and it's why it's on our watch list since 2010. It is one of the issues in transportation safety in Canada that, from our perspective, requires the most attention because, in the numbers that you just mentioned, just a few of these incursions were deemed high risk. But as we've seen this week, it only takes one to make a tragedy. So, which is why, from our perspective, each of these incursions, even if the numbers are not extremely high, they deserve to be looked into to make sure we can learn lessons and prevent them from happening in the future.
Yeah, the TSB has absolute independence from government, from industry, so you can make the decision about what to draw attention to. And runway incursions have been on your watch list for a while now. Presumably, this needs the attention of airports, of airlines, of NAV Canada. What's being done?
So it is a complex issue, as you mentioned, because the issue that a big airport like Pearson is facing with runway incursions are not the same as the issues that we are facing at our small airport here in Gatineau, where there are a lot of flight training units. So the type of incursions that we are seeing at these two airports are different. So the action that has to be taken has to take into account the local context, because the solutions are not going to be the same for each airport, depending on the local traffic and the local signage and the way the airport is laid out. So our approach at the TSB is to look at really local defenses, but also national ones that involve technology, for instance, to increase situational awareness for the air traffic controllers to manage the traffic on the airports, but also for the pilots and the vehicle drivers that operate on the airport and have to be aware of what's going on around them.
Are you getting data that suggests to you that the various stakeholders here, so as I say, I think it's airports, airlines, and NAV Canada, that they are actually making improvements?
We know they are working on it actively. We speak regularly with the people at NAV Canada, and they are very aware of the issue, and they are actively working on it. They have created what we call runway safety action teams, which are teams of local stakeholders that can work on fixing these issues locally. So work is being done, but on the other hand, we're also seeing an increase in numbers and an increase in rate, which we're closely following and we want to see this trend go the other way.
There's some nervous flyers out there. I'm sure some of the people watching right now feel a little bit nervous, particularly after what happened in the United States on Sunday, and then they hear about runway incursions being on the TSB's watch list. What would you say to those travelers?
Well, what I always say to people when they ask me the question is that air travel in Canada, in the US, is safe. It's one of the safest modes of transportation. But that doesn't mean that there isn't room for any improvement. And as we've seen this week, accidents can happen, which is why we exist. We exist to look into these occurrences, find out what happened, and most importantly, why it happened, and then issue recommendations to make sure it doesn't happen in the future.
The TSB has investigators at LaGuardia looking into that runway collision. It was an incursion by a fire truck that had been given clearance to cross a runway ahead of the Air Canada plane that was coming in. I know the NTSB, the American agency, is the lead investigator here. Is there anything you can tell us about how the investigation is proceeding?
So we have deployed 3 investigators on site at LaGuardia, and basically they are there to support the NTSB. As you've mentioned, the NTSB is the lead agency. They will be the ones issuing a final report after the investigation is over. But under international conventions, we are entitled to appoint what we call accredited representatives to participate in the investigations. And so it's what our 3 investigators are doing in LaGuardia, is that they are supporting the NTSB in any way they can, and they can act as a conduit between the work that is being done in the US and any Canadian interest. As we know, the operator was based in Canada, the aircraft has had a Canadian design as well, so they can act as a conduit between what is being done in the U.S. and the Canada.
I was impressed by the amount of information the NTSB gave out on Tuesday, and I assume they'll continue to be transparent as quickly as they can with more results. Yoan Marier, the chair of the Canadian Transportation Safety Board, thank you very much.
Thank you.